What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster, and I want to thank you guys for joining me for another Silmarillion Total War replay battle. Today I've got a new map to show you. This is the Isle of TOL-IN-GAURHOTH, and if you guys have recently looked at UMAD Commander's channel, then you'll be able to see the Isle before it was taken over and corrupted by Sauron. But this is the aftermath of Sauron's occupation of the once fair Silmarillion, and it's a really cool looking map. It was actually made by one of our testers, Stewart of Dale, so big thank you to him for taking the time to make this dark kind of mirror reflection of the Isle of Silmarillion. And today it's going to be a 3 versus 3, and we're going to have 3 TOL-IN-GAURHOTH armies against the 3 Elven armies who are looking to retake it for Elvendom. So without any further ado, let's take a look at some of the army compositions, and then we can jump into the battle. Hope you guys enjoy it. So the first army we're going to look at today is one of the 3 TOL-IN-GAURHOTH hosts, and this one is going to be commanded by myself. I've brought a fairly interesting composition. One thing that I have noticed is that even with the smaller overall unit rosters, less choices than some of the other options out there, I have been able to bring some fairly interesting and varied comps. It may just be that we're still figuring out the meta, but I hope that that's a trend that we see well into the future. So you can do a little bit more with a little bit less. But in any case, enough tooting my own horn. I've brought 2 units of Hishburkra's Howlers, which are a locked morale light infantry unit. They are very swift, and as I mentioned, they are unbreakable. So they're an excellent tar pit. They are quite fragile, however, with only light armor, no shield, and quite low melee defense. That being said, it will take your enemies some time to carve their way through the Hishburkra's Howlers. I've also got a solid second line of the Gijaxkaraz clan. I've got 2 units of Wolfguard, and I believe I actually have chevrons on them as well, so they are nigh on unbreakable. Not entirely unbreakable, but they will stand their ground and fight against almost insurmountable odds, and it gives them a little bit of extra attack. So an armor-piercing mace unit there can be particularly useful against our foes across the field. Many of the Elven factions that we're facing today are quite heavily armored. I've got 2 units of Gijaxkaraz chosen as well. And one important thing to note about the Gijaxkaraz clan is that they do have a Inspire effect, and it's going to be useful for keeping clans like the Skada High, for example, in line and prevent them from fleeing. So I've brought 2 units, I believe it's 2 units, of Skada High Trapper Javelins. I've also got a detachment of Javelins here as well. I've got 1 company of the Hishburkra's Warband, mostly to fend off any cavalry charges from the front, as my Hishburkra's Howlers have quite low melee defense. Just about any cavalry, even horse archers, can be a danger to them if they are charged down. I've also brought 2 detachments of Hishburkra's Hunters instead of just a single unit, as I like the flexibility. What else have I got here? I've got a ton of wargs. I've got 2 units of the Hishburkra's Gulkalab. These are Javcav, and they've got a special projectile that does morale damage, and it also looks damn cool. I will leave fire behind on the ground, and they're basically just tossing bolts of living fire at their enemies, which dismays them, demoralizes them, and not to mention it hurts because it's an armor-piercing javelin. I've also got 2 companies of the Gijaxkaraz Zagulkalab. These are the Gijaxkaraz clan. I don't think that they inspire nearby wargs, but it's not really necessary, as many of the wargs are quite cheap and you can put chevrons on them easily. I've also brought a unit of Thrangshik Wolfborn, and this is the Rage Howl Wolfborn. These are the warlords of the 4 clans of Gulkala that inhabit TOL-IN-GAURHOTH, and they are very, very strong indeed. You may notice that they have a lot of similarities with the Bolg's champions. In fact, they are identical except for the shield that they have there. These guys are quite heavily armored, and they have a devastating armor-piercing charge with those big, fierce-looking lances. And what else do I have? I think it's 2 companies of Hishburkra's Gulkalab, and then 2 companies of the Gijaxkaraz Gulkalab. See, the names aren't so scary after all. It's actually quite palatable for English speakers. I think that's pretty well it, except I am missing 2 things here. I've got a unit of Orc Mangonel, which is on loan to me from Sauron's master in Angband, so I'll try to take extra good care of it. I probably won't. I've got some Hishburkra's Ash Priests as well, which is a fierce new unit added to TOL-IN-GAURHOTH. This unit currently is lacking the animations that it will later have. They will have the slinger animations, which the Europa Barbarorum 2 team have been kind enough to lend me. So they will be slingers eventually, but at the moment they toss some very nasty armor-piercing fire globes. So they function a lot like the Nafatoons, and they have an armor-piercing missile with very high damage. It's particularly good at sniping out enemy bodyguards in particular. They are also 2 HP. They have quite light armor, but they do have a shield as well to try and offer them some protection from arrows. And in close quarters, they wield a 2-handed axe, which is very, very scary. And they have a huge damage bonus and a really huge base damage as well. So very, very scary. Currently, they're still using that kind of hideous Azog model, but it is something we will be changing in the future. So I know if you're looking at that and your eyes twitching a little bit, then I forgive you, but please be aware that that's only temporary. We are still in alpha. And that's going to do for my army, so I'm going to go inside the walls of TOL-IN-GAURHOTH. And we're going to look at Secretariat's army, who's going to be commanding the center here. He has also brought his own unit of Hishbukraz Ash Priests. He's got full companies here of Hunters. He's also got Skadahai Blood Drinkers, as these are a favorite unit of his. They are very, very scary armor-piercing units. They're quite cost-effective, as many of the TOL-IN-GAURHOTH units tend to be. They're all very, very cheap, and this unit in particular has an armor-piercing charge and quite high base damage. And you can easily give them some chevrons for a little bit of extra damage and some staying power. He's also brought Gijekskara Zagulkalab, the heavy cavalry. And what else does he have hiding in here? He's got Skadahai Trappers, so a javelin unit. Gijekskara's Chosen, which are spears. He's got some Howlers. He's got more Blood Drinkers over here. And what else? I think he's got some units kind of hanging out here as well. He's got some more high-tier cavalry here, the Gijekskara Zagulkalab. I'm going to repeat that until everyone is fairly clear in the pronunciation. I know that some people are intimidated by it, but honestly, it's not that bad. Hishbukraz Howlers, Hishbukraz Hunters, some Wolfguard here, so the heavy maces mixed in. I think I saw some Chosen in there. Indeed, I did. And a second company of the Wolfguard. And I think that's going to do. I know he's also got some Thrangshik warlords of his own hanging around here somewhere, but we'll see them later on in the battle. Then we move on to the third and final army of TOL-IN-GAURHOTH, being commanded by DT Misericordi, one of my clanmates. He's brought some Howlers, got some Skadahai Longfangs as well, a medium infantry pick from the Skadahai clan. They've got pretty decent melee defense, and they've got really high damage, and it's quite easy to bump them up to a whopping 10 damage, which for a unit that doesn't cost a whole lot, I think it's like 600 at most, and has good numbers and decent armor and shield, that is quite significant, especially when you back them up with some Gijekskara's Wolfguard. It can be a very scary mixed front line indeed. He's also brought some Hishbukraz Hunters, some Blood Drinkers of his own, Howlers, Ash Priests, because who doesn't love the Ash Priests? One thing to note about them is that they are a powerful support bodyguard, as they are intended to be, although they can take to the offensive with those nasty two-handed axes, and they do inspire units nearby. And this was recently added because there wasn't a clear bodyguard unit for TOL-IN-GAURHOTH, and now there is, and it seems to be quite popular, which I'm very glad of. I got some Howlers here, some Chosen, Hunters, some Trapper Javelins, Blood Drinkers, more Wolfguard. Does he have 3 units of Wolfguard? Like 1, 2? No, he's just got the 2 units of Wolfguard. Maybe I'm seeing things. More Longfangs over here, so I think that's a total of 4 units of Longfangs. Some more Howlers, and his own company of Thrangshik Wolfborn. So he's just got the 1 unit of Wargs here, which is, I mean, it's not crazy. You can go for like a full infantry swarm as TOL-IN-GAURHOTH. You do have that flexibility. And we are going to support him with a lot of our cavalry as well, as we had planned to do earlier in the lobby. So he was able to go a little bit harder on his infantry than we did. But yeah, so that's going to do it for the TOL-IN-GAURHOTH forces defending the Isle. Let's go ahead and see what the attackers have brought to the battle today. Directly across the field from myself in a big, juicy column formation, we have one of the Doriath armies commanded by Captain Gervais. He has brought some Kuthalim, which is a armor-piercing archer, and they are also very, very fearsome warriors in close combat after the fact. Underestimate them at your peril. They may be quite small, but what they lack in size, they make up for with ferocity and massive attack values. Behind them, we have the Donath and Mablung, and I think we've seen these guys in action a few times, so we know what to expect. They are a two-handed armor-piercing shock unit. They have the best armor value that Doriath can offer, that being 10. And they just have a devastating charge. These units are monster hunters, and that's actually a note that I would like to bring to everyone's attention here. Two-handed armor-piercing units like this, or units, well, to a lesser extent, the non-armor-piercing variants like two-handed swords, and etc., etc. But two-handed armor-piercing units like two-handed axes and two-handed maces are very, very effective monster hunters, as they are intended to be. There are some very big and nasty units in Silmarillion Total War, such as Balrogs, heavily armored Troll Guard of Gothmog, Uru Loki. Eventually there will be Sauron, and he's going to be a nasty customer, let me tell you. All those big scary monsters are counter. I don't want to say easily counterable. You will lose a decent amount of your troops, but the best option, I think, for dealing with those kinds of units, include Ents in that as well, is armor-piercing two-handed infantry. They're fantastic armor hunters, and I think I've said that 3 times now, so it's okay, we'll move on. I've got some Warriors of Region here. I think there's 2 companies up front, two-handed armor-piercing units. Behind them, Axguard of Region, who are fantastic, in particular at dealing with chaff units, which is predominantly all of the TOL-IN-GAURHOTH roster. Even the Ash Priests are a little bit lower on the melee defense side, so these kinds of units can be quite effective against them as well with their very high attack. That being said, they do lack melee defense, so high charged units, even some of the melee cav, like the Gijaxkara Zagul Collab, can get a decent amount of damage on these guys with a frontal charge. That is something to be aware of for your two-handed and one-handed axe units. They are very vulnerable to cavalry charges and to missiles as well, as the Axe Guard lack a little bit of the shield value that some of the other heavy units do. So they lack some staying power, but they make up for that with attack value. Behind them, we have some Sword Host of Region, which is a much more balanced approach to infantry combat. They have 11, I believe, melee defense to the 9 of the Axe Guard, and they have a 2 extra shield value as well. They do lack a fair amount of damage. I believe it's a difference of like 3 from them to the Axe Guard. But again, it's a little bit more of a balanced approach there. And then we've got some Marksmen armed with Silverthorn arrows, and so far, I mean, I've been a little disappointed with the way that people use Marksmen. I'm going to try and get you some replays where I use them for what I hope to be their intended purpose. So far, people have been using them as skirmish units, but the Silverthorn arrows are a little bit wasted in a skirmish fight. So if you have an army such as TOL-IN-GAURHOTH that's bearing down on you, and or an Angband army, this even works even better against Angband because they have more of a mixed front line, whereas TOL-IN-GAURHOTH can just kind of spread themselves out. The high mass nature of these arrows and the large numbers of marksmen that you have at your disposal, you can actually paralyze and stagger someone's advance. So you have the ability to take a little bit of movement, a little bit of autonomy away from your opponent by using these units to pin them in place and do a fairly decent amount of damage as well. But so far I haven't seen them used like that. That's not, you know, me throwing shade at any of our testers. It's just not necessarily something that I think is readily apparent. So I wanted to point that out to you guys so that you have a chance when you get your hands on Silmarillion Total War to try and use some interesting tactics with that unit, because it's meant to be a specialist. So it does certain things extremely well, and it's just kind of okay in other areas. Moving on now, we have some Spear Host of the Girdle. Non-armor piercing javelins on these guys makes them excellent at dealing with medium and light units, especially units that lack shields or have lower shield values. So yeah, particularly nice for in that particular role, and they're also great after the fact for just getting in the way with lots of numbers or for shielding your back lines against cavalry charges. And on the topic of cavalry, you can't see them, but I'm pretty sure there's 2 companies of Mounted Company of Region. So 2 units of melee cavalry hiding over there in the woods. Let's move on to the center army, which I believe is another Doriath host. This one being commanded by Inorius, one of our other testers. He has brought Shield Bearers of Region, Sword Host, and he's got some Marksmen in behind as well. He's got his own company of Kuthalim, Sword Host, Shield Bearers, Wardens of the Girdle, which are poison arrows. He's got 2 companies of them. And then he's got some Axguard of Region, Donath and Mablung, Warriors of Region, and Spearhost of the Girdle. So a little bit more of an elite approach with the 2 General's Bodyguards being brought instead of, you know, one or the other, allowing you to bring some more of the mid-tier units. But yeah, pretty nasty. I don't see any cavalry currently, which may have been the sacrifice he had to make to bring both of the bodyguards. I could be wrong. They could be hiding somewhere. Like here, for example. This is a potential place where they could be hidden. But that's going to do for the Doriath army for what we can see so far. Move on now to Steward of Dale, playing his favorite faction on the build, that being the Elves of Osiriand. We haven't really done an in-depth kind of deep dive into the Elves of Osiriand, but in a few sentences, they are very good at ranged combat. They have a solid core of elite heavy infantry that is very, very small, smaller than other units, and they cost about 10% more, which is quite significant when it comes to elite tier units. But the predominant kind of bulk of their roster is made up of spear units. So they have lots of spear chaff to kind of get in the way, but not a ton of killing power outside of their ranged units and outside of their solid core of armor-piercing units. So against heavily armored factions like Angband, they can kind of struggle a little bit. We have some Ents here with their stats retooled from Reforged. They are quite expensive, but they are armor-piercing, and not all units like Trolls are, so that is an important distinction to note. Moving on over here, we have some Erfinen Tower, which is like Forest Nobles, I believe. I don't know, I'd have to look again. I got a detachment of them there, and I think 1 company, maybe 2 hanging around somewhere else. Also got some Maithern and TOL-IN-GAURHOTH, which is the bodyguard. Not a 2 HP bodyguard, it is important to note, and this is where the General for Steward of Dale is going to be hanging out. Out front here, got some Spear Host of Rath L'Oriel, and check this out. Got a Ballista crew here. And the Green Elf Ballista is quite unique in that they are a spear variant of the Maithern and TOL-IN-GAURHOTH. Although they are a little bit larger than I think they're supposed to be, so that might be something I have to fix later. They should have about 40. I think that's everything that we can see so far. There's probably a good deal of hidden cavalry. I imagine Scouts of Gelion, Riders of Gelion, probably some of the hidden javelins whose name escapes me at the moment. That's quite bad. You know, I should know my own units' names. But that's going to do for what we can see of the Green Elves of Osiriand so far. Let's go ahead and jump into this battle. Hope you guys enjoy it. So right away, we're going to be sending as many troops as we possibly can to go and reinforce Misericordia's position. Our plan is to wipe out the Green Elves and do that as quickly as possible while fending off Doriath and defending our center while our flanking forces try to crush what remains of the elves over here on their center and their, I guess that would be their left wing. Yes. So yeah, we're going to try and crush their center and their left wing, and that is going to leave me to try and hold my ground here against Doriath. But I saw this, and I immediately knew what I had to do. I needed to shower these guys with my mangonel. I'm going to claim the lives of many of these units. I'm actually going to get some of the Kuthalim here as well. I believe I killed about 6 of them, which is unfortunate for poor Rex. And looks like there were some hidden units in here. No, maybe they were just kind of bunched up. And so Doriath is going to advance as quickly as they possibly can to my position, as my artillery does give me an advantage. And damn, am I in a good spot to reap some seriously bloody harvests from the advancing ranks of the Doriath army. Oh, here comes another nasty one. Ooh, that's brutal. So brutal. And as they advance through it, they are going to get themselves caught on the fire, as for a few seconds it is deadly to touch once it is on the ground. And that's 1% of the full enemy force dead before they even get themselves into position. So I've got the Kuthalim out front. Not exactly great use of the Kuthalim. I know that Rex is quite new to the build, as we only recently added him, so it might not necessarily be apparent what the Kuthalim are supposed to do. They are quite low in ammunition, and they'd be great against my Thranshik Wolfborn, who don't exactly have a massive shield value. And again, you're going to see the Marksmen here used as just skirmishers. and that's being used on my Hishburkraz Howler units as I try to get them into position. And these are just chaff. I'm fine to lose these units. My big fear is that he'll see my Ash Priests, recognize their weakness, and then focus everything that he's got on them. And I desperately want to keep my Ash Priests intact because there's a lot of nasty Doriath infantry coming my way, and I am totally going to need them. Let's pop on over to the other side, and you can see that Misericordi's TOL-IN-GAURHOTH force has mobilized against the Green Elves, and it looks like they found, with this wide sweep of the field, some sentries of Gelion who are very much in danger here. Sentries of Gelion are pretty awful in close quarters, and they will die like dogs to the Hishburkraz Howlers. Even though they are the lowest of the clans of Gulkala, they still do pose a pretty significant danger to the sentries if they can catch them. Over here in the center, you see everybody lining up. We've got some Hunters of Rathloriel in the back. That is the Javelin unit. Mythar and Tolgalen being brought forward, and this long line here of Rathloriel spears being engaged by the wolves of TOL-IN-GAURHOTH. And they are going to crush them. Without any support, these units are doomed to defeat. And it looks like some of the spear host of Gelion that were hidden were broken right away. The Ents were in there to support them, but there's a lot of nasty armor-piercing units coming their way, and those Ents are going to get caught out by their direct counter. Lots of Blood Drinkers, got some Gijak Skadas in there as well. It's a nasty thing to see. Fire arrows being poured into the ranks of the wolves. Scatterhide Trappers under some heavy pressure. I think they might be being used to out-skirmish the Hunters, which isn't a terrible idea. Well, let's see what they end up doing. It says the Longfangs are being defeated, but honestly, don't believe it. Ooh, that Ballista opening fire, I don't know what they're going after. Misericordi mobilizing his cavalry. He's definitely going to need them. Big Javelin volley going into the spear host of Rathloriel, and the Green Elf right wing is severely threatened right now. And Doriath is moving with all haste to move to reinforce them, but we've got some help on its way as well. Looks like some of the Gijak Skadas here from Secretariat that he sent over have caught some Outriders of Dweilwyn, which I don't think we've seen yet. These are a Lancer unit. They are decent enough against wargs, but the Gijak Skadas and their heavy armor will cut their way through. Eventually, you can see that the Outriders of Dweilwyn are being pushed hard by that heavy warg unit. What else do we have on its way? I know I've got some infantry and some cavalry moving out as well. My two companies of Gijak Skadas on their way. Secretariat has the center locked down nice and tight, and he is also moving out to help me against Doriath. So things have really kicked off on my side. The Doriath army is really, really scary, and they're going to massacre their way through our troops. So I've brought in my Hishburkraz. You can see that fiery projectile at work. Secretariat has moved out to support me as well, as I asked for that. I don't have a ton of infantry, and I'm definitely going to need support here to cut my way through this battle-hardened Doriath army. So focusing on this blob here with my javelins. Over in the center, looks like the Marksmen. I think I saw the Marksmen in combat. No, it's warriors, and they're hacking their way through my Gijak Skadas Wolf Guard. I've got my Javies in the back here, raining hell on the Doriathrim. And the Grey Elves are getting as good as they're giving at this point. My Howlers are being slaughtered. I got my Wolf Guard in here as well, fighting hard against the Axe Guard, but this is not a fight that I'm really prepared to win. I didn't exactly bring a proper composition to overwhelm a Doriath army, as I wanted to kind of play the field a little bit more. So I've got my Chosen now moving in, lending that Inspire effect to the front line, and eventually I will throw them in here as well, and just try and grind the Grey Elves down with sheer numbers. In the back, a lot of skirmishers here. And I don't really have a direct answer to them. I've sent my 2 detachments of my my hunters into the city here. So I've got one up on the ramparts here, and the other I've kind of fanned out and I've laid down here in front of our entrance. Gijak Skadas has chosen locking down that area, and it looks like Secretariat is sending out some infantry to the support of our ally Misericordi. My cavalry have arrived on scene. Outriders of Dweilwyn are being absolutely destroyed right now, and I see a gap here in this line. I'm going to move in with my Gijak Skadas and try and exploit that, get in behind our enemy. And speaking of our enemy, they're being pushed hard here by TOL-IN-GAURHOTH. Long Fangs have broken through what seems to be the first line, and now the second line is moving in. Misericordia committing his high-tier infantry to the battle. Hunters of Wrath L'Oreal trying to hold the line here. Oof. I don't know where that came from. I think there's some Javies here. Yeah, I'm not too sure. Oh, that's probably the Ash Priests. I don't know whereabouts they are. Ah, yes. Misericordia's Ash Priests laying down some enfilading fire, fricasseeing these Hunters of Wrath L'Oreal while the infantry moves in for the kill. But this is bad news. Bears, the Wolf Guard, coming face to face with the Erfen and Tower and their two-handed axes. Not a fight they're going to win without support. I've got my cavalry moving over this way. Scouts of Gelion are going to be easy prey for them, but I have to admit I don't exactly use my cavalry to their fullest extent here in this fight. I've got these cav moving in, slowly looking to get themselves into column formation so that I can easily move through this gap here and not get them caught. And I kind of got my cavalry just hanging out here, taking some Silverthorn arrows to the back. That's fine. This is fine. Not a huge error on my part. But the battle rages on, and the Green Elves are pushed quite hard. So they've had to move in with their elite units, and they're starting to bring it back a little bit, especially against the Howlers. They're going to have no problem here. Although, the Mythron and Tol-Galen have taken some pretty serious losses here. Nearly a third of the unit just fighting a company of Howlers does give you some indication of how fierce the Howlers can be. Spearheads of Gelion being absolutely massacred here, and it seems like it's kind of in the balance. Looks like Thrangshik Wolfborn here from Misericordia unfortunately got themselves entangled with the Hunters of Wrath L'Oreal, and ultimately will be destroyed. This Ballista, though, what's it going after? Ishbokraz Hunters, probably not the best thing, but I don't think he has exactly a ton of targets. Ash Priests still laying down fire here, and that's going to be enough to rout these Hunters of Wrath L'Oreal, who are going to break with 40 men in the unit. And this is where it gets ugly. So Doriath has arrived on scene, denying these Scarahai Blood Drinkers their armor-piercing charge, and things are looking grim as the Doriathrim rush to the rescue of their Green Elven allies. Over on my side, it's a fierce battle. The Grey Elves are giving it to me, but my troops still have much more to give, although ultimately this is not going to be a fight I think that we win easily. Scarahai Trappers under fire, out of ammunition. I'm just kind of using them to draw fire, as I do have my my Ash Priests nearby. So if my opponent wants to shoot at my Scarahai Trappers, they are a tempting target with no shield, then I'm absolutely okay with that. Looks like the Marksmen are trying to go after my Hishbukraz Ash Priests, but so far they're okay. They are a little bit blocked in terms of the line of sight, so I'm not exactly getting great shots off here, but I am tossing at the Green Elves. And you can see the effect that this is having. Some of these units getting melted, although I am actually melting some of my own. One of my chosen, a bunch of my chosen actually go down. But my target is the Donath and Mablung, as a unit like this are designed to hit the Mablung, and the Mablung are kind of being blocked out by my Scarahai Trappers, so they can't get through this net very easily. They are an easier target as they've been breaking through my line. I've got my Mangonel crew. My Mangonel is completely out of ammunition at this point. I'm going to try and throw them in here to maybe bridge, or maybe fill this breach, rather, and just try and hold on for as long as I can against Captain Gervais's Doriath army. Over here, my Hishbukraz laying down the law, going after the Marksmen. And then out behind here, I'm actually moving around with my my cavalry, or at least I was. I managed to catch out the Doriath cavalry and eliminate at least one unit of them. And I think the remnants, the very ragtag remnants of those units, have fled to the other side. So we're going to pop back to the other side of the field and see how things are going against the Doriath reinforcements here. Misericordia's army kind of on its last legs as these fresh units of Doriath rush to the aid of their ally. Secretariat has mobilized some reserves here, looking to outflank a unit of spearmen that he could wipe them out there very quickly. He's got some chosen nearby to help keep those units in the fight. Hishbukraz Hunters unrelentingly firing at the... Ooh! Oh, that's nasty. I didn't even know they were here in this battle. The Tol-In-GAURHOTH, the only ranger unit in the game. It looks like they're being harassed mightily. I've got my heavy cavalry in the back here, trying to do something, but they are being picked on a little bit by the Doriath units. And I've got, I think, more of them in the back somewhere. Looks like Misericordia has managed to break through with his Chosen. And where are my cavalry? Yeah, here's my cavalry. They're fighting against the ballista crew. Not where they want to be against those spear units. I think I tried to go for like a rear charge against the Tol-In-GAURHOTH. And they're looking pretty worse for wear. I'm gonna pull my cavalry out of there. Maybe move to assist my ally here against the Erfenen Tower. Destroy them. And the Green Elves are absolutely in ruins on their left wing. Their right wing, which was so fragile earlier, has been reinforced by Doriath. But in the center, they're actually not doing too great as well. Yeah, nasty Gijak Skada's units here, cutting down the lightly armored scouts of Gelion. But really, Stewart's just going to have to play for time here, and then eventually our line will get rolled up, because we don't have the resources needed to fight a fresh Doriath army out in the field like this. There is some hope with Secretariat's units that will be able to kind of run these guys down. Secretariat's also got his high-tier cavalry in here against the Wardens of the Girdle, and they will absolutely massacre these units. They are practically useless in close quarters. Ooh, reinforcements on the way, though. Warriors of Region, that's going to be nasty. Also got some mounted company there as well. So it's ugly. It's a slaughter out here. We're winning in some areas, but we're definitely very heavily threatened in others. And I don't think that we're going to be able to make it back to the fortress with any victorious units that we have here, as our line of retreat is cut off by the advance of Doriath. That being said, in the center, there's still hope. We got some Chosen. I've got my reinforcements in here, some Hishburgraz hunters. What else do we have? Got a detachment here of Scarahide trappers. Ooh, but not much else. Got some howlers here from Secretariat. A couple units of hunters. Yeah, it's not looking great for us. What do we got going on out here? Doriath definitely beating me down. And something is going to be needed to make sure that this is not a nearly full-strength army. And I do have just the cures. I got my Thrangsheik Wolfborn here, charging their way over, and I think my other units, my Hishburgraz Agulkalab, are running down a ragtag band of mounted company, making sure that they are off the field for good. They're going to take that charge, and it's important to note that the Hishburgraz Agulkalab are actually Spear Cav, in addition to their warg bonuses, so they are very, very intimidating. Perhaps not so much as their more melee-oriented counterparts, but still they're not completely useless. I got my Thrangsheik Wolfborn, about a 2/3 strength unit of them, barreling down Doriath's back line, and that is bad news bears for him. But things aren't going so great for us either. The Scarahide Blood Drinkers doing their best. The Sword Host have cut their way through the majority of my reinforcements from Secretariat, and my front line very ugly as well. The Donath and Mablung still quite healthy. What are my Hishburgraz Ashbreeds up to? They might be going after the Kuthalim. That'd be a good target for them. I don't see anybody catching on fire though. Oh, I see. Going after the rear of these units here. But yeah, this is where my hope lies. This one unit of Thrangsheik Wolfborn barreling down on the Wardens of the Girdle. They are going to absolutely destroy these guys. Speed that up a little bit. You can watch this absolutely brutal charge. Oof. They're going to massacre their way through there. These guys are going to take very heavy casualties. And Rex... why do I call him Rex? I think maybe he had like a Clone Wars avatar once, and it was Captain Rex, and now that's just how I associate him in my brain. But I'm going to charge right through with my Thrangsheik Wolfborn, as I don't want to waste too much time with this light infantry, and I want to go right for these warriors. and marksmen and such, and they're going to turn around. Great attention, and this is how you want to deal with cavalry. This is just cavalry tactics kind of 101. Or rather, anti-cavalry tactics 101. I'm going to smash into them. I'm going to immediately pull myself out and ping-pong back towards these wardens of the girdle. And I'm going to think better of it as there is a spear company nearby. Kind of deking out my opponent here, and Rex isn't going to see this one coming. Get Rex, Captain Gervais. I'm going to smash into his line, and that's really going to hurt. Now we're starting to turn this around. I'm going to lead his units on a merry chase here, trying to be unpredictable so they can't turn around, but he is going to be able to turn. Nonetheless, it's going to hurt, and I got to be quick here. And if you actually look at this, we've done quite a lot of damage to his line, and now we've managed to bring this fight back. We've suckered that spear host out of position. We're going to go for a nice pincer here against the wardens of the girdle. That's going to hurt. That unit's going to take very heavy casualties. I'm going to try and pull them out of there. Oh, I am going to get caught and charged down a little bit by the spear host. My Throng Sheik will be able to pull their way through with fairly minimal casualties. I'm going to send myself off to 2 different places at once, try and test Captain Gervais's micro. Maybe I should just accept it. I'm going to send my other unit over here, and they're not going to see it. Oh, they will turn around just at the last moment. Oof. And there goes my general, my Ash Priests in combat against the warriors. Ugly. My Hishburg-Kras are going to rout almost immediately. I do still have my Wolfborn, though. And that's a big deal. And seeing that the battle is lost, and my troops are beginning to break, I think I actually am going to pull out my Ash Priest at some point, if I haven't already done so. Oh, they're right there. Doing lots of damage to the Donath and Malblung, who have been almost completely extinguished. The Kuthalim, still in the fight. And my Throng Sheik, still marauding, still looking for a good hit. I think I might need to pull them out of here as well. Oh, yep. Ooh, I think I see an opportunity here to go for the Wardens of the Girdle while these units are out of position. So we're going to smash into them. It's going to suck to be a Warden of the Girdle. And I've managed to disengage with my Ash Priest as well, so we will manage to save some of our units, and I will manage to save my Cavalry, as I will be pulling them out momentarily as well. Over here, what's left of Misericordia's army has been cleaned up. There are still some small pockets of resistance. Gijak Skada is chosen, fighting to the last, surrounded by the remnants of the Green Elf army, which they so thoroughly mauled to the point where there's very, very little left of them, and the Doriath units are in there supporting them as well. And that's going to be their last stand. Ballista still alive. Scouts of Gelion firing their last at the Gijak Skadas chosen that have broken from Secretariat. And you can see what remains of our army fleeing or being cut down. That's a heavy loss for us, 63 to 73. It's not completely a disaster, as they are only 10% ahead. And we do have some fairly scary units still left. I managed to save my Ash Priests. And Secretariat still has his heavy cavalry, and I've got mine in addition. Secretariat pulling out here with his Hishburg-Kras hunters. There goes his Throng Sheik Wolfborn. And his Hishburg-Kras howlers holding their own. Looks like my Throng Sheik being chased around by the remains of Gervais's Doriath army. Go for a nice charge here, and looks like I will connect and catch him off guard. And those units are going to get absolutely flattened. The Secretariat's going to come in as well. Some nice teamwork here with his Throng Sheik. Try and pull out of there before they catch me with my Wolfborn. My Wolfborn down to 12 now instead of 16. Run, my pretties. Ooh, almost getting caught in that net of spears, but I will manage to slip away at the last moment. Secretariat's still on the field as well. I think this is about the point where he pulls back. Yeah, Gervais is doing a good job at zoning us out here. My Throngshik Wolfborn are definitely in peril. Oh, another cheeky charge here into the rear of the Marksmen. That's going to hurt. Those Hishburg-Kraz Howlers, with that support of Secretariat's cavalry, are holding their own. Well, those Marksmen just might break. It doesn't look like it. What we got here? Looks like I went for a charge with my Throngshik Wolfborn against some of the Marksmen and the Kuthalim. Oh, I'm going to lose quite a lot of them. Oh, they're very close to routing, and they break, and that's all I'm going to see from them, unfortunately. I saw an opportunity, but Gervais had the right units over here, and he saw the charge. That's going to be the end for my cav. I think this is the point where we call it quits on this side of the battle. This Doriath army has been severely mauled. Good teamwork there on our parts. Now the Hishburg-Kraz Howlers are going to hold on for dear life. I've managed to save a unit of Hishburg-Kraz warbands. And of course I've got my Ash Priests, but that's it. We're very thin on the ground in terms of our reinforcements in the center. And things are looking very bleak for us at this point. Still, it's nice to have 2 pocket units of Gijak Skadas chosen. A lot of these units are very tired, especially the Green Elf army. Although a lot of the Doriath army from Minardius still fresh, as they came in at a later point in the battle. Still, we did some damage to them. Not as much as we needed, though. And part of that, you didn't really see it because I was covering other parts of the battle, but I didn't use my cavalry effectively, and I kind of feel like the health of Inarius' army here is partially on me. I wasn't microing my cav well. I was busy elsewhere. It's a big game. That's my excuse, but honestly, the state of affairs right now is partially my fault for sure. And Gervais has managed to regroup, consolidate his troops. He's got spearmen nearby, and this is when Secretariat finally calls it quits. The Howlers down to 27. Well, these units, it must be noted, are quite tired. Very, very battered. We did our best. And we're going to kick it up to full speed here. What do we got? Hishburg-Kraz Hunters from Secretariat. Saved a couple units of them. It'll be interesting. We've got lots of missiles, and if we position them well, then the Hishburg-Kraz Hunters can actually do a lot of damage. More than you would expect from a 3 missile damage foot archer, but they are quite scary. What else have we got? Got trappers here from Secretariat. Oh, didn't notice them. A couple units of trappers that he managed to save. I've got a ballista crew up here as well. More Hishburg-Kraz Hunters that Misericordia managed to save from his army. So that's certainly something that we have in spades, is Hishburg-Kraz Hunters. We've got lots of missiles here, and that's certainly a big problem for the lightly armored Green Elves. Oh, I don't see what... I think they're just shooting into the area down in front of them, so they're not exactly positioned optimally, and they're not going to get any shots off, so that kind of sucks. And artillery there, slowly lumbering forward. And Inarius' very healthy Doriath army advancing on our, I guess that would be our western gate. It's looking ugly. What do we got here? I see that ballista. Now it's in a good spot. Yeah, I'm frying a bunch of those elves. Steward of Dale's ballista trying to get itself into position. Missiles raining down from on high. And some of them are finding their mark, even on these heavy units. Oof, I think I heard someone else get snagged there by one of those missiles. Nope. Eager to see what happens with the ballista here. That one's quite optimally placed. It's gonna fire and it's gonna miss, as that unit is moving. Doesn't make it easy to hit. Gijakskara is chosen, getting themselves into position. That ballista does pose a pretty serious danger to them. Looks like Rex. And then actually Inarius has some cavalry here as well. Didn't know that. But Rex is going to take up his position at our eastern gate. And he's going to bide his time, because he sees that I've got some nasty surprises waiting for him. Got some warband there to be chaff. Ishborg Kraz Ash Priests. Got a unit of hunters up here, and I got some Skarahide trappers. So despite the fact that his units vastly outnumber mine and outclass them in terms of quality, the missiles that I have up here could turn this area into a killing ground for those Doriath warriors. And that's something I think Rex recognizes and wants to avoid at all cost. Got some Thorangshik Wolfborn here. Ooh, got a company of Chosen moving over here as well. Just one company of Chosen. Looks like Inarius sent some reinforcements over here. Yeah, things are looking bad for us. This might be the end of TOL-IN-GAURHOTH as a faction, and will allow the elves to reclaim a very strategically significant beachhead to block off the pass of Sirion and the Fen of Serek that lies beyond. Secretariat opening fire, and actually I want to talk a little bit about this because this is a very carefully prepared area. I told Secretariat to pull back to this area here so that I could move my missile units onto the flank and have a position to lay down enfilading fire into Doriath. Secretariat brought up his Skarahide trappers as well, and he's got his Hishborkraz hunters nearby. We've managed to block off the majority of this area. Looks like the wardens are trying to get into a spot where they can easily fire on the Skarahide trappers, but we turn this area into a killing ground. Look at this. Doriath units are just being showered with arrows from all sides. Some javelins in there as well. And they're really taking a beating. Oof. Wardens taking point-blank volleys from the Hishborkraz hunters. They're going to run before they get off another volley, but oof, that was nasty. There's a lot of dead wardens here. They had, like, I think 80 or so in the unit, and we've cut down half of them. More Doriath reinforcements pouring in. Skarahide trappers moving to block these guys, and they will end up getting caught. And the trappers are essentially Longfangs with a little bit higher melee defense and no shield value. So they're going to catch the Wardens of the Girdle there out in the open. They're going to break. And meanwhile on the front line, the shield bearers are getting absolutely hammered. Got some more trapper units coming in, and we're giving it all we got on that side. This ballista moving forward, looking to get some opportunistic shots off on Inarius' reinforcements as they attack from the west. Thorangshik Wolfborn nearby as well, but Rex so far is just kind of biding his time. His force is very, very small, and it would be entirely conceivable for me to massacre what's left of them and then shift my forces elsewhere. So holding his forces in reserve like this is actually a sound tactical plan, as I can't move these units to the reinforcement of my allies if I have to keep them in reserve to prevent these guys from breaking through our lines and surrounding us in turn. So excellent strategic sense there on the part of my opponent. I called him Rex like 10 times, I'm sure. Captain Gervais, on the part of Captain Gervais. Got some Spear Host of the Girdle charging through here. Gervais sees an opening, and he's going to take it. Looks like Secretariat is not going to have a chance to get off a volley. Maybe he gets one off. Ooh, a point-blank volley there from all of those missiles. That's just devastating, really. Meanwhile, Doriath is getting hammered, but reinforcements are on the way. That's going to start to turn the tide here. Some marksmen to move in to reinforce the failing spear line. I think these guys are out of ammunition, so I'm going to move them off. Secretariat's going to come forward with some Chosen. I think he's got his Ash Priests here and some Hishborkraz Hunters as well. And the attackers are doing a good job at kind of spreading us very thin. We're not able, because of the amount of forces that they have, we're so outnumbered that we're just not able to concentrate, which is what we would need to do in order to be effective here. So we're fighting with kind of one hand behind our back, and there's really nothing we can do about it because of the sound sense of the attacking armies. So now reinforcements have reached our line. Secretariat's trappers are not going to be enough. Some green elves have actually joined the fight. Some survivors. Rear charge here onto the Scar High trappers might be enough to break them. I would not be surprised, and indeed they do break. What we need is reinforcements. And if these guys had any ammunition, I'd be able to lay down some devastating fire into the rear of the Axe Guard. But unfortunately, all I can do is throw them in here to try and play for time. Scar High Trappers, I've brought my company in as well. Laying down enfilading fire. Trying to kill as many of these elves as we possibly can, and so far we're doing well. Look at that. In the center especially, these guys are just getting massacred. Where are those shield bearers? I want to see how they're doing. Shield bearers down to 54. But it's only a matter of time. 75 to 83 though, we're not doing terrible. Oh, Secretariat's Ballista setting up. Trying to get some shots. They're wide open on this side though. They could carve through these guys if they get good volleys off. I'm moving in my warriors. Oh, there goes somebody's general. Ooh, nice shots there from Secretariats. Another deadly ballista volley. Claiming the lives of many of these warriors. My Scar High Trappers not having fun though. They are not in numbers great enough to be able to take on the warriors of Region. And this wide open hole in our line here is going to allow my trappers to be outflanked and broken nearly immediately. Secretariat still pushing hard, doing everything he can with that ballista before it's silenced by the green elves. Let's see if he gets off one more volley. Meanwhile, over here, hunters have engaged the spear host of the girdle, and they are being beaten back on the line here. The Chosen are actually destroying the Axe Guard, which is a little bit surprising. And there goes the ballista. I don't think it managed to get another shot off before the ballista crew of the green elves managed to silence it. Got some Chosen here moving in. Looks like Jervis has chosen his moment well, and now he's beginning to move forward with the remnants of his army, and we are just surrounded on all sides. We do have one ace in the hole in the form of the Thrang Sheik Wolfborn, and they are crushing those spear hosts of the girdle. And one final charge here might be enough to break them. But elsewhere, things have not gone well. Our forces over here have melted away. Go ahead and we'll slow it down a little bit. We've got some archers up there. Looks like we've got some Hishburkraz hunters from Misericordi being thrown in here. Ash Priest Secretariat has managed to save from the destruction of our front line over on the western side. Hishburkraz hunters moving in. I moved up with my second unit of hunters to try and get some more shots off. And now I'm moving in with my hunters down the ramp here to try and get some final hits off. I know that these hunters won't last very long. They are in numbers, but once they're pressed hard by all these Doriath infantry, there won't be much that they can do. This area was left wide open. Unfortunately, we just didn't have the numbers to defend it. And now they're going to be able to surround our units here. These Hishburkraz hunters are getting absolutely massacred. I think I might manage to get off a volley or so into the massed Doriath ranks down here before my units are silenced. But it's only going to do so much. Yep, some of those units are going to fall. But still, I think we did pretty well. If you look at this, there's a lot of dead elves here. Like, we chose our ground well, we just didn't have the numbers or the quality to hold it. Now, elsewhere, Mythern and Togolin. Nope, that's the... yeah, Mythern and Scouts of Gelion fighting against a pocket of Gijek Scouts Chosen, who are holding them off successfully. Suit of Dale looking to surround that unit and turn the tide. The Ballista crew here fighting their way through what is essentially a unit of crossbows from Angband in close quarters. Hunters over here doing their best. That's not a fight they're going to win. Wolfborn being a little bit wishy-washy with their target. They were fighting some mounted company, which is an easy fight for them. I moved in with my Ash Priests here against what's left of Doriath. Unfortunately, I don't have my missile support anymore, which is kind of what I was counting on. Misericord is going to throw in some Hispocrates Hunters to support my warband. And we're going to do what we can to hold back Captain Jervis's forces. But there's nothing that we can really do. Actually, this is great here. If you look in there, with the guy with the horns is actually Thengol, Elu Thengol, leading his forces personally into battle. My Ash Priests are doing their best, but they're just too outnumbered. They're actually being pressed by the Wardens of the Girdle, which will rout off the Hispocrates Hunters with their poison arrows. Even the presence of my Ash Priests won't be enough to keep them together. Yep, it's only a matter of time. That being said, we have killed a decent number of elves here. Percentage is 95 to 82, so it's reasonably close. But our defensive lines have pretty well crumbled, except for over here, surprisingly enough. I don't know what was going on. Could be how tired these units are, but the Gijak Scout has chosen are just kicking ass. And they're holding off a pincer movement here from 2 units of Doriath infantry. Thrangshik Wolfborn getting a nice charge off on the ballista, but it's not really where they want to be. Ballista crew, I should say. Let's see what's going on here. I think a lot of the action is going to come down to Thrangshik Wolfborn here and the choices that Secretariat makes. I think he sees an opportunity. Well, perhaps not. Might double back. Let's go ahead and kick this into full speed. And the Ballista crew there from Secretariat just broke. I gotta run right by a unit of Marksmen. Yeah, this was unfortunate. He was being a little wishy-washy, I think, with what he wanted to do with the Thrangshik. And this is probably not the best choice. There's a way better option over here. This is what he should have done to begin with, is go right for the rear of that spear host. I want to know, before we go and look at that, so this is what happens to Secretariat's Ash Priests. They're fighting hard over here. But I don't even think Jervis sees this, so these units end up getting completely pancaked. Super nasty. Some Doriath cavalry from Inarius running to the rescue. But honestly, the Wolfborn are a little bit beyond an understrength company of mounted company of Region. Well, they're going to turn back around, go for another charge here. But they're not going to drop their lances, unfortunately. Didn't give himself enough space. And now reinforcements have come, and the Wolfborn are going to be forced to flee. The Chosen are fighting hard. A lot of dead elves here, but it's not going to be enough. 98 to 85. Wardens of the Girdle really just asking to get massacred here. It looks like Jervis has managed to break through my lines as well. Decent amount of damage, but it just wasn't enough. It looks like the Wolfborn going to pancake those Wardens of the Girdle and then run off. I don't think we managed to save anything for our last stand up here, unfortunately. So really just down to these Wolfborn and what little damage they're going to be able to do. I'm being targeted right now very heavily. Well, hope they get that charge off. This will be nasty. Boom, right in the flank. Not as devastating as I think he needed it to be. And now, 86% of the elves have been slain, but we're really just down to this one unit of Wolfborn here. And there's only so many targets that they can continue to pick on. Looks like he's going to go for the Wardens, maybe clean them up. Some Myther in there that he might go after. Up, yep. A few of them got pancaked. But now he's getting surrounded. Oh, gonna go right through the spear host. They're gonna catch him out. Some of them are actually gonna die, surprisingly enough. There goes the officer. It's just the Throng Sheik. He's gonna go for it. Rex is gonna see it. And while he is gonna claim the lives of some of the marksmen, good 10 or so of them, it's not gonna matter too much. I think we're going for the last percentage point here. We want to see if we can get like 87, kill enough of them. Unfortunately, doesn't look like we're going to be able to get that percentage points. Down to 6, 5. Now they're going to... Oh, no, they're going to pull out of there. Go for the Kuthalim. That was very brave. These guys are going to countercharge, though, as I think they're out of ammunition. Oh, no. Going to double back here. And go after the catapult crew, the ballista crew. Throng Sheik, I think, are going to manage to extricate themselves from that sticky situation. Yeah, we really wanted that last percentage point, honestly. And some warriors of Region over here who are just asking for it. But if they countercharge, it's going to suck. Let's see if they get their lances down. They do! But there goes the general almost immediately. I don't think he got any of them. Oh, he got 2. Wasn't enough. Now this guy's going to get caught and surrounded. And that's it. That's their last stand right there. That's the end of the Wolfborn. They do well, though, the Wolfborn. That's one thing they certainly have going for them, is that they do very well. That's going to be it. 100% casualties, 86%. Very well played to our opponents. Really, I don't know what to say about our loss here. If I had used my cavalry better, we could have crushed the Green Elves. I would have had them left over to maybe put some pressure onto Doriath. One problem we might have run into is that we just ran out of infantry. We committed really heavily, and we weren't able to get the value out of those units that we needed. We needed to crush Doriath, and we needed to specifically the Doriath army of Captain Jervis, not Rex. And we needed to crush the Green Elves faster than we did. But Doriath was, under Anarius, was able to get in there and support the Green Elves, and then that was pretty well it. We had our line of retreat cut off. There wasn't any option for us to get back with anything more than, just a handful of ragtag units. We put up a great last stand, though, especially over on the western gate. We chose a very powerful position. We turned it into a killing ground. We probably killed off maybe 200-300 elves there with some understrength battalions of stuff like Hishbokraz hunters and that kind of thing. So it was a really good game. We got a decent amount of kills over on our team. Everyone was fairly consistent, and Nari's got the least, mostly because he got there last. But yeah, great game. Let's take a look at what we managed to do. Throng Sheik Wolfborn, 223. Really good units. My Ash Priests got 155. Managed to use their full ammo pool. My Trappers, some of my Trappers did well. Other ones did not. But I think the one at the bottom here was the detachment, so it's naturally going to get lower kills. The 155, though, is just no excuse. No excuse! My Howlers did very poorly, but they were fighting some high-tier Doriath infantry, so that's to be expected. Wolfguard did alright, and Chosen also did okay. So my Gijek Skada's units performed well across the board. Lots of kills with my Mangonel. My ally here did very well with his troops. Throng Sheik Wolfborn again with 211 kills. Blood Drinkers, a little bit disappointing. His Chosen did alright. The Ballista got a decent amount of kills. Would have been nicer, I think, to have like a proper infantry unit than what we had at the end, but he did get a nice couple of shots off there into the warriors of Region. And I think this is Misericordia's army. Ash Priest didn't do as well as I think he needed, but they got targeted out in the field by the Green Elves, which is whatever what you want to have happen. His Wolf Guard really killing it on the front line, as did his Chosen, and the rest of his units just kind of did a little bit average. So that's it for our 3v3 on TOL-IN-GAURHOTH, the first time you will have seen this map anywhere. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have been enjoying the Silmarillion Total War content so far. I will be adding a 6th faction soon, and that is going to be the House of Finarfin, so you will start to see some replays come out with them. And I also have a big surprise for you guys. I'm going to make an official announcement about this, just for those people who don't stick around for the end of videos or happen to miss it. But we will be releasing a public beta, and that is going to come out on the 24th of December. So as our Christmas present to you, we will have 6 factions available, that being TOL-IN-GAURHOTH, the Orcs of Angband, Osirian, Doriath, the Sons of Feanor, and of course the House of Finarfin that I mentioned earlier. So, great news for everybody! Hooray! I hope you guys enjoyed the battle, and I'll be following this up fairly shortly with another really good one we did the same day. So, enjoy. Bye-bye.